Part 23. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 221. As soon as the old lady went to bed, she heard Wen Yu coming from outside. My heart sank slightly, and I didn't hesitate, so I put on my clothes and came out. He was shocked when he saw Wen Yu's face. What happened? Grandma, the red apricot in the house poisoned the water I drank. I was caught by lava. Old Mrs. Wen narrowed her eyes. She was not surprised, but was thinking quickly in her mind. Yuan's changes, Wen Huan's travels. Heh, is this the same thing again? Looking at Wen Yu in front of her, she knew what she should do in an instant. Where are the people? She asked calmly. Outside. Bring it in. Labo brought Hong Xing in. Hong Xing's face turned pale, and she held her right hand carefully. Kneel down as soon as you enter the door. Tell it like it is. The old lady's eyes were cold, but her voice was not loud. Hong Xing told the story about the nanny who was around Yuan before wooing her and giving her money and medicine, and also talked about Wen Huan's coercion and inducement. After hearing this, old Mrs. Wen ordered people to lock up Hong Xing. She turned to Wen Yu and asked, "What do you think we should do about this matter?" "Grandma, do you believe what she said?" "Let her." Old Mrs. Wen was very happy. "What was Yuan like when we arrived in the capital? How is she now?" "Everything is good at home, but she has become a cold and resentful woman. It seems that everyone owes her." Grandma knew that she was jealous, but she never expected that she would dare to do this. The old lady's tone, "Are you trying to bring out Wen Huan?" "Grandma, maybe you didn't expect them to do this, but you see all the changes. Don't restrain them, let them go as they please. Do you think Wen Huan can get along with Prince Yongqing?" "You," old Mrs. Wen's face turned ugly. "I heard about this from Yongxiang upstairs." "Say what?" Wen Huan was dressed in a white gauze skirt. She stood among the pear blossoms and looked back with a smile. The sky was covered with pear blossoms. His Highness was fascinated by it. The old lady's expression became even worse. "Why didn't you tell me when you came back? Speaking of this, don't you think I'm hindering the future of the Wen family?" "Father, don't you think I'm jealous of Wen Huan?" Wen Yu said with a mocking look on his face. "Wen Yu, tell your grandmother privately and she will handle it herself. This is not something you can laugh at. If something happens, you will be involved too. When there is a bad result, it will be considered as implication, but back then, weren't you very happy that Wen Huan got into such a good circle on his own?" "Wen Yu, don't talk to me in that tone. What the Wen family has today, including your marriage, is also the support the Wen family has given you. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to get to MRSG. The Wen family's everything, including your food, clothing, and future dowry, was all managed with great effort by me. So, don't talk to me like that. You have the ability to get a good marriage on your own." "Happy to." "Grandma, when MRSG proposed marriage, why didn't you agree?" The old lady stared at her. "Humph, the gap between the two families is too big, and I don't know the origins of the Qi family. Is this a good enough reason?" "Grandma, it can be said that Wen Yu's vision is quite low now. Sometimes, I think about it secretly, and I admire you in my heart. The Wen family is today is really due to you. However, the Wen family has taken a step forward, and everything they think and do must conform to their new status. How can you do anything and work in a hurry?" "You." "Grandma, our family is far from being able to do whatever we want. How did I know that Yuanqi would do this? That day, Pingting said that bad people did bad things and were not punished, but benefited all the time. Then she will do the same thing next time." "You." Mrs. Wen's heart was beating wildly and she looked at Wen Yu carefully. Did she mean something? Recall the past carefully. "No, I did everything right to deal with the aftermath." Wen Yu said seriously, "Even if Wen Huan gets what she wants, but her moral character is not up to par, and her methods are vulgar and vicious. What will happen to her? I have heard a lot about the Princess of Yongqing County Prince these days. In addition to her unremarkable appearance, her work there is no flaw, and behind him, there is Mr. Hege. Wen Huan was helpless against her. Then, will she end up with a packet of poison like she did with me? Old Mrs. Wen thought nervously, her. She will. You have worked hard to get what you have today. But in the face of power, it would be easy for it to become a fleeting thing. You go back first, I'll take care of this. Old Mrs. Wen became irritable. Grandma, I can leave this matter to you, but if it doesn't suit me, I will take action myself. What do you want? We are in a different place. Whatever they do, I will do the same. Grandma, don't let your granddaughter underestimate your methods. Okay, old Mrs. Wen said irritably. You go back first. Wen smiled coldly and left. Come here, call the eldest man and his wife. Old Mrs. Wen closed her eyes. Yuan told Wen Qian that she had not been sleeping well recently and wanted Wen Qian to sleep first, so she could catch up on her sleep while Wen Huan was not at home. Wen Qian didn't have any objections at all. He didn't have to be cautious in front of his wife but didn't know how to please, so he felt much more relaxed. In the front cabin, a small bed was set up, and a tall candle was lit to read. Yuan said sleeping, but where can he sleep? Wen Huan has been there for 2 days and still doesn't know what the situation is. I was so nervous that I walked back and forth. Suddenly someone came and said, Madam, the old lady invites you. Yuanqi was stunned. It's so late, what's the matter? I don't know, my wife, please go with me quickly. Yuanqi was scared to death. Could it be that something happened to Huan and the news came back? Who are you calling? I don't know. Yuanqi simply put on a bun, put on a cloak, and hurried away. When I arrived, I found that my husband was also there, asking the old lady. Yuan, Hong Xin pointed out that Wen Huan asked her to poison Wen Yu. Do you agree? Mother, I don't understand what you are talking about. Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Huan asked Hong Xin to take action? Didn't succeed? The most surprised person was Wen Qian, who suddenly turned his head and looked at Yuan. Yuan was calm, looking at no one, and sat down dignifiedly. It seems that they are safe and not guilty, but they know their wife Moruofu. It seems that they have taken action. The poison was given to Hong Xin by Aunt Su by your side when you returned to Zhangzhou last time. She never dared to do it. This time, it was Wen Huan who used coercion and inducement to do it before she left. If you want to accuse me, there is no reason to hesitate. Since my mother said so, then report it to the official, Yuan said calmly. Follow me? Old Mrs. Wen smiled secretly in her heart, turned to Wen Qian and said, Wen Qian, please ask for leave tomorrow. At dawn, go out of the city to King Wu's courtyard and bring Wen Huan back. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Yuan finally became anxious. Wen Huan went to Prince Wu's mansion with a friend. Is there any reason for her to come back early? I said her mother is seriously ill and is about to die. Is that okay? Old Mrs. Wen laughed. You are so cruel. Yuan burst into tears and could hardly sit still. Wen Qian hurriedly helped her and asked Yuan to throw her away. Don't touch me. Your eldest daughter has become successful and can bring you benefits. You don't care about us anymore, do you? We are an eyesore to her. Are you going to pick up Huan in front of everyone and embarrass her? Wen Qian said, Don't worry, I'll talk to my mother later. Yuan shook his neck forcefully. Stop talking, I won't agree. The old lady had a trace of mockery on her lips. Why are you in such a hurry? It's just an outing. Could it be possible that she has any plans? She wants to seduce a powerful person there. She is your granddaughter, Yuan said coldly. Yes, She is my granddaughter, her surname is Wen, not Yun. So, if she does the scandal of having an affair, getting pregnant before we are married, and instigating someone to kill her first wife, I will not forgive her. I will not take her for granted. If you want benefits, I will beat her to death. Old Mrs. Wen is so powerful. Mother, Wen Qian's face turned red and he screamed in despair. Yun was so excited that she covered her face with her hands. Her pride and diligence, her good intentions, her harmony with her husband. Everything comes to naught. This dead old woman, I will kill you. I will definitely kill you. Putting down his hands, he stared at the old lady like a ghost. Mrs. Wen was startled, and she leaned back warily. What are you going to do? Yuanqi suddenly laughed twice. What can she do? Without looking at Wen Qian, he shook his head helplessly and rushed out of the room. Come here. Lock the door of the eldest lady. You are not allowed to go out without my consent, and you are not allowed to let anyone in. Anyone who dares to spread the news will be beaten to death on the spot. Wen Qian was in despair and his mind was completely confused. He knew that he would not be able to survive this time. See, this is the one you hold in the palm of your hand. Mother, is it true that Wen Yu was poisoned? Speak for yourself. Wen Qian was speechless. How could he not know about the changes in his wife and Wen Huan? Even he has changed. However, he always thinks that the past is in the past. Can't he live a good life now? Before, he was on guard against Wen Yu because he was afraid of such a situation. However, since he didn't stop her and even benefited from her, wouldn't it be good to marry her off smoothly? Why not change your thinking? But now it's too late to say anything. Her mother is at odds with her. Not to mention, there is Wen Yu. Mother, what do you think we should do? Bring Wen Huan back first. That girl is very courageous. Don't go out there to have like her mother. It would be terrible if someone catches her. Mother. Are you still speaking for her? Your mother and I fought with your father, and lost our lives. When we were doing business outside, we did some dirty tricks. We often do things to follow others' influence. However, when it comes to a woman's chastity, mother can never do anything. No flaws at all. My son, my mother was also a widow in her youth. How would you feel if you were like Yun and hooked up with others while your father was away? This makes Wen Qian speechless. After hearing everything, Wen Yu said with a smile, "Oh, what a shameful thing to say, Grandma. As noble as the Yun family, it's surprising that she didn't get hit head on. No, Laba, you have to think of a way, in case bad news comes from Wen Huan's place. She is so hateful that she might really want to die. If I keep my filial piety, how can I get married?" Laba said, "Then give her some medicine and let her sleep. Just don't kill me. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart." Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 222. Wen Qian had no sleep all night. In my mind, Chen's image was clearer than ever. Then he thought of Yuanqi again, the little things they had just gotten to know each other. After such a comparison, he realized that there were too many coincidences between him and Yun. You can always meet her with beauty, and you can always hear her say what you want. Her sadness when he became engaged to Chen. My own feelings of emotion and surprise when I fell into my arms like a moth to a flame. From that moment on, he was determined to create everything for her. Even, he doesn't hesitate to take action. I wiped my tears silently, not knowing the last time I cried. He has always believed that the most useless word in the world is regret. However, at this moment, my heart feels cold and painful, and I wish that nothing had happened. So what is going on? In the morning, he got in the car and went out to pick up Wen Huan. The old lady also stayed up all night, sighing. The sun rose and just after noon, there was a commotion at the door. The footsteps were noisy, Something happened to the old lady. Old Mrs. Wen was restless and was startled when she heard this sound. The man at the front door ran in. Prince Wu's mansion has sent our second girl back. The old lady's heart skipped a beat. Something was wrong. Where is her father? The old man went out of town and hasn't come back yet. Didn't you encounter it? Hurry up and look for it on horseback. Just after giving the instructions, two people helped Wen Huan in. Wen Huan was wearing a cloak and couldn't stand when the person next to her let go of her hand. She suddenly sat down on the ground. The hat fell off, revealing messy hair. The old lady looked at her quietly. The people were too frightened to say anything. At this time, a person who looked like a female official came in. When she saw this man, the old lady looked nervous. Sir, what is going on? The female official's attitude was very arrogant. Wen Huan, last night in the middle of the night, I had a private meeting with Li Duozhen from the Xingguo Duke's mansion, and my empress discovered it. As a result, she was sent back. Xingguo Gongfu? Old Mrs. Wen's face turned pale, but she was secretly planning in her heart, Xingguo Duke's mansion, which one is this? This, she couldn't speak. Sir, when you came in. She was waiting for news at home. Everything went well. The female official remained motionless and her eyes squinted. Who are you? Wen Yu, a folk girl, is Wen Huan's sister. Are you her sister? The female official said mockingly. Yes. I just heard from your lord that Wen Huan had a private meeting with someone and was discovered by the empress. Yes. Sir, Wen Huan is just a little girl who was invited by Prince Wu's mansion to be a guest in the annex of Prince Wu's mansion. I don't know what the rules of the prince's mansion are. But even in a small family like the Wen family, if a girl wants to leave the house in the middle of the night, she has to go out. Impossible. I don't know how the palace provided the opportunity and place for the private meeting. You are so presumptuous. The female official became anxious. Old Mrs. Wen was shocked. She really dared to say it. Sir, after you send this person back like this, why don't you allow us to ask a few more questions? Although the Wen family is not a high-ranking family, it is also a law-abiding family. Moreover, the guests invited by Prince Wu's mansion must all be of noble character. How could something like this happen to someone with a clean background and a good life? The female officer, if we really caught her with real evidence, would the Empress still accuse her unjustly? Of course, the character of the Empress is a role model for women. She would never do such a thing. Therefore, it is even more strange. There may be some misunderstanding, or there may be someone framed. I hope the Empress will investigate again. Humph, I've seen it with my own eyes. What else do I need to check? Last time in the East Palace, everyone was well aware of what Li Duozhen, also known as Jin Zi, did. He was escorted out of the Duke's mansion by someone sent by His Highness the Crown Prince. How could Prince Wu's mansion invite someone with such evil deeds? Where is he going? Moreover, he appears where boys and girls sleep at night. Gold is for both men and women, so this is even more embarrassing. The female officer felt a little guilty. Of course I have to check again. The Wen family should also ask their own girls properly. As soon as Mrs. Wen heard about the gold, she remembered that it was the Duke of Xingguo. Oh my God! How did she get into trouble with this demon king? When my father comes back later, he will also go to the palace to ask for an explanation. It's better to leave than to send him away. Wen's words were really arrogant, and he waved his sleeves and left the female official. Old Mrs. Wen was ashamed and angry. Suddenly he went up and slapped Wen Huan twice. Wen Yu stood aside and admired it. Wen Huan was beaten, and when he woke up from his daze, blood started to flow from the corner of his mouth. Look at the old lady, then look at Wen Yu. Honestly, what's going on? Asked the old lady. Wen Huan just stared at Wen Yu and said nothing. Old Mrs. Wen didn't like her, so she said something like, "What do you think she's doing? Say it quickly. Otherwise." She pulled a hairpin from her head. "If you ask me again, I'll blind you." Wen Huan shuddered and woke up. "Grandma, I don't know what's going on." "What do you mean you don't know? Don't you say yes?" The old lady raised her hand. I said. Looking at her grandmother who was about to take action, Wen Huan was convinced, "But I really don't know what's going on. I want to be the concubine of Prince Yongqing. But, he obviously treats me very much." I had a good impression, but there was still no news. I saw him talking to Yanzu very much, so I was anxious to take this opportunity to express my feelings to him. So I wrote a letter with my left hand, and asked him to come and meet in the small garden. I set up a piano and played there. But, somehow, what came was gold. When he saw me, Wen Huan whimpered, he came up and said crazy things. I felt something was wrong and wanted to run away. But he pulled me and tore my sleeves. Just like that, clothes messy, discovered. "Have you ever lost your virginity?" Mrs. Wen asked coldly. "No. I don't have a real grandmother," Wen Huan explained anxiously. "What did the princesses and others look like when they saw you?" Wen Huan's face turned red with embarrassment. Gold has torn off her coat. Inside, she wore a beige peony tube top, exposing her two jade arms. Old Mrs. Wen shook her head. "Hong Xin wanted to poison Wen Yu. Was it you who instigated it?" Wen Huan neither acknowledged nor denied, and just stared at Wen Yu blankly. "Wen Yu, are you happy?" "I'm very happy to be alive." "Grandma, Huan is wrong. Try to find a way to save your granddaughter." Old Mrs. Wen sat there, looking gloomy. "Save her? It is not easy for Wen Qianqian to escape from it. Take it down." His wife helped Wen Huan up and took him away. "Mom, go and deliver a message to my mother quickly," Wen Huan's voice came. "Wen Yu, what do you think we should do?" "Grandma, now you have to think about how your father can get away from this. Let your own daughter have a tryst with the prince of the Duke's palace in the middle of the night, and sell yourself to the rich and powerful to make a future for yourself. This is not a good idea." Sure enough, others would say that. Old Mrs. Wen was so angry that she really wanted to kill Yuan and Wen Huanquan. "If the Qi family doesn't care about this and still welcomes me in, my grandfather will come to Beijing even if there is no chance. If something happens to anyone, I can't let anything happen to my father." When you looked at the old lady's expression and felt happy. Originally, she planned to dig out old scores and clean up Wen Qian together. But after talking to Zhang Pingting last time, I changed my mind again. This person still needs to use it. Just let him not feel bad. "Grandma, fortunately, the Xingguo Duke's mansion has a bad reputation. But the bad thing is that his family is shameless when they have power. If Jinjin's father comes to make trouble like he did to the prince consort's mansion, then the Wen family will be embarrassed. Of course, this is just my granddaughter's opinion. It's up to my grandmother to decide. At worst, we will go back to our hometown in despair." When you stood up and left. "Go back home?" Old Mrs. Wen's mind quickly went through the things in the capital: Zhang family, Song family, Qi family, Kui family. Wangfu, royal palace, shop. Her proud tone when she wrote to the dead old man. "It's all over. Happiness and glory come quickly, but then they are lost. It's really like a big dream." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 223. The old lady sat alone for a while, then Wen Feng and Wu came in. "Mother, something happened to Wen Huan," Wen Feng asked. Let's wait until your brother comes back. Wu was a little gloating about his misfortune, but he didn't show it at all on his face. Sure enough, the old lady glanced at her. Fortunately, if I offend my mother-in-law now, it won't be easy. The three of them didn't speak. After waiting for a long time, Wen Qian hurriedly walked in. The people who went to find him had already told him the matter on the way. So, he didn't say anything when he came in, and sat down with an extremely ugly look on his face. Let's discuss what to do, old Mrs. Wen said. Wen Qian said nothing, but Wen Feng and Wu said they would listen to their mother. Mrs. Wen thought for a while, asked Wu to go out, and called Wen Yu over. Wen Qian lowered his eyes and turned his head slightly to the side, not looking at Wen Yu. Girl Yu, this matter is related to you, let's discuss it together. No matter how we deal with it, Wen Huan can't escape. So, she can't stay, the old lady set the tone. Wen Qian shuddered. He knew his mother's tricks. Now that the words have been spoken, there is no room for maneuver. At first, when Yuan gave birth to Huan, she was just a red and soft little dumpling, he saw it in his eyes and felt pain in his heart. I hope that one day in the future, she will be able to have a happy marriage. I hope she will live a happy life. So, she was given this name. You are in your youth, are you about to die? Mother, is there no other way? Wen Qian made his last effort. Such as making her a concubine with gold. Mother. Girl Yu, what do you think? Old Mrs. Wen asked. Father, if she takes Jin Zi as a concubine, my marriage will be ruined. You have to choose one. Wen Qian's head is buzzing. Grandma, Wen Huan and I are not the same kind of people. Even if she wants my life, I will not decide her life or death easily. I once heard that my father wants to marry Wen Huan into Li Ji's hometown. Wen Yu looked at Wen Qian and said, that can be regarded as the marriage that my father took great pains to find for her daughter. I'm afraid she was very satisfied at the time, right? But later, she didn't have the intelligence and wisdom to judge the situation well. She behaved inappropriately and was ruthless. Stupid and bold, and without any shame. Father, what do you think we should do with this kind of woman? Old Mrs. Wen glared at her son, what now? Prince Wu's mansion sent Wen Huan back, and they must have scolded Jin Zi there. Last time, Jin Zi's father was fighting for his son's reputation. What kind of trouble did it cause? The majestic prince consort's mansion, let's just immerse ourselves in it. How does the Wen family compare with the prince consort's mansion? The three heads of the Wen family looked at each other, what a nightmare. Besides, when we talk about gold, we also refer to the old prince. Sooner or later, father and son will be in bad luck. Wen Feng nodded immediately. That's right. Wen Qian lowered his head and said nothing. Father, in your opinion, what is the best way to deal with her? Wen Yu asked Wen Qian directly. Didn't you personally teach Wen Huan? Then don't hide behind the old lady. No matter what kind of decision you make, it must be made quickly. Don't wait for rumors to spread all over the sky, and the Wen family will not be able to leave the house. Don't worry anymore. Mrs. Wen nodded, Au is right. This matter must be pushed out. If people open their mouths first, the girls of the Wen family will not even think about getting married. Wen Feng was very dissatisfied. Brother, to be honest, it's outrageous that Wen Huan was raised by my sister-in-law. Although Wen Yu is cheating on me, we, uncle and nephew, never regard each other as an outsider. His words really left Wen Yu speechless. But look at Wen Huan, she always looks the same, she seems to be born taller than everyone else. I find it funny. What are you doing with your sister-in-law and her, she? Second brother, old Mrs. Wen stopped him. Wen Feng also reacted and shrank his neck in fright, almost spilling the beans. But what he said shocked Wen Qian again. At first, he was afraid that Wen Yu would stir up old things, but now, he is worried that Wen Huan would bring them up. Everything now is hard-earned and must not be ruined by the past. It seems that Wen Huan cannot be saved. Then, as mother said, let's get over this difficult situation for the Wen family first. Wen Yu's marriage is just around the corner, and we mustn't ruin the marriage because of Wen Huan, then we'll be together. Wen Yu smiled secretly, your love has choices after all. Grandma, since my father is determined, we have to hurry up, it will be too late when we find Father Jin. Also, Yuan's temperament is extreme, so I'm afraid I have to find a way. Wen Yu. Wen Qian looked at Wen Yu in disbelief. Mrs. Wen immediately said, Boss, what are you looking at her for? Have you forgotten the way Mrs. Yuan looked at me last night? Will I be threatened by her when I get old in my life? Mother. Okay. You tell yourself, if Wen Huan is dealt with, will the Yuan family become enemies with you? In my opinion, the futures of her two sons are not as important as Wen Huan's climb to a high school, the old lady said bitterly. Wen Feng also said, brother, mother is right. You are so good to Mrs. Yuan. Why can't she be satisfied? You see how I treat Mrs. Wu, but as long as I speak, Mrs. Wu has no words. You have to be happy. But don't worry. She can't die. When you still wants to get married, old Mrs. Wen became impatient. So, the matter was settled. On the way back, Wen Yu thought about whether he should go and meet Wen Huan. Then she denied it. From now on, Yuanqi and her have become a thing of the past. Took the money and asked the person who executed Xiao Jichuo to tell Wen Huan how her father, who loved her the most, abandoned her. Let's talk about how her mother was unable to protect herself and ended up in a miserable state. In just one day, when King Wu and his family came back from the other courtyard, rumors were already flying all over the sky. Including but not limited to, hey, you said that gold has such a bad reputation, why does Prince Yongqing play so well with him? He carries it with him everywhere. It must be that King Wu saw the secret chess in the hands of Zhongxing Duke's government. Taijun passed. I think the relationship between Jin Zi and Yongqing is unusual. The two of them are very, very good. He, you said they too, passed down by Jin Zi's friend. My friend also went to King Wu's courtyard, and he was still wondering, Miss Wen was obviously invited by a certain girl to play piano, so why did the gold appear there? Did Princess Wu have any plans? Princess Huijuan was requested by Wen Feng. Last time Jin Zi was making trouble in the East Palace, Princess Wu said, now it's her turn. The Crown Princess was also angry. The Prince of Yongqing County is a carefree man and has no ability. His style is really not as good as his two brothers. The eldest son of King Wu, autobiography gossip. Princess Wu is pretending, but she is actually a loser. She can't take care of such a small thing, and the house must be in a mess. Invite her to me. The queen is unwilling to be lonely. We are all here for guests, why is there such a thing? Oh, luckily my grandmother is not feeling well, so I didn't go. Some pretentious lady. Oh, what a pity that little girl from the Wen family is so pretty, someone sighed. Of course, some people also said, the eldest daughter of the Wen family is good looking and well behaved. She has a good family like the Qi family, but she behaves very low-key. Why is this second girl, always following those people everywhere? When you forced Qi Wu to leave. You don't even know this? My eldest daughter is born to Mr. Wen's first wife. Wen Huan is the daughter of the stepmother Yuan. When the eldest daughter didn't come to Beijing, Wen Huan kept saying that she was the eldest daughter. It's true. Shameless. Yes, yes, yes. I remembered it too. I recognize both of them as sisters. To be honest, it seems that Wen Huan is really older than Wen Yu. Ouch, there won't be anything here. The above items were spread by Wen Yu himself. Wen Feng was the first to find out and was scared to death. Looking back, Mrs. Wen felt that her decision was very wise. When Jin Zi returned home, he complained to his father again. She was obviously the one who invited her son to the appointment. My son was wronged. His father, whether you believe it or not, I believe it anyway. It's just a concubine, don't worry, Dad will get it back for you. Jin Zi's wife has raised her son to be fat and healthy, and is personally teaching him to recite the three-character sutra. In the beginning, human nature is good. She squinted at the father and son who didn't know why, and sneered in her heart. Before Jin Zi's father could go out, his grandfather came back. He was criticized by the imperial censor and scolded by the emperor. I have a secret chess piece in your hands, the emperor asked coldly. Gong Xingguo thought to himself, there is indeed. I'm wronged, I'm old and incompetent, and I can't even raise my children and grandchildren. Your Majesty, I've invited you to go home and take care of yourself. Huh, the emperor snorted coldly. Just this once. Duke Xingguo was also frightened. He went home, scolded his son and gave him 10 sticks of gold. Immediately afterwards, when Huan couldn't bear the humiliation, and when the caregiver was not paying attention, the news came out that he would die to express his will. At the same time, there was also news that her mother went crazy and fell ill after seeing her beloved daughter hang herself. Wen Qian became the victim, and everyone expressed their condolences. Old Mrs. Wen endured her grief and personally arranged for her granddaughter's funeral and for Yuan to return to her hometown to recuperate. She asked her most considerate Aunt Song to accompany her back, and told Wen Qian in front of her, after you finish this, you can retire. Watch her carefully, don't let her come into contact with outsiders, and don't let her she committed suicide. Then, don't let her suffer, and provide her with adequate food and clothing, and then. Wen sneaked into the house and said goodbye to Mr. Yuan. Yuan she already knew everything and made a big fuss. If he hadn't been kidnapped, he would probably have sought death, right? At this moment, disheveled, he looked at Wen Qian without saying a word. The eyes contain love and hate, resentment and disappointment. Wen Qian said in a daze, you and Huan both have too many ideas. No matter what I say, you will only think of the worst. At this point, I have no choice. He looked at Yuan intently. I think you may regret following me. But who doesn't regret it? These words had a greater impact on Yuan than when Huan's death. The light in her eyes was completely gone. Accompanied by Qi Wu, Wen Yu went to the temple with his uncle and his family to perform a ritual ceremony for his mother. Uncle, although my father has not been directly punished, in the past few days, he has vicissitudes of life and has gray hair. His evil will be punished. After all, you and he are biological father and daughter. This result makes my uncle very satisfied. Your mother is knowledgeable and will be proud of you. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 224. At the gate of Qi's house, there was a lot of excitement. The head of the family, Qi Zheng, has returned to Beijing. Several grandsons went 10 miles outside the city to pick him up early in the morning. Qi Yuyi was waiting at the gate, pacing back and forth, turning his head from time to look at the way he came. Suddenly, there was the sound of a carriage. The Marquis is here. Qi Yuyi quickly stood in the middle of the road. A group of people came over there, and the one in the middle was an old man. When he came to the door, he reined in his horse. Father, Qi Yuyi stood with his hands down respectfully and called out. Zhen Yuan Ho Kijhan looked at his eldest son. Qi Yuyi hurried up and held the reins of the horse for his father. Qi Zheng flew off his horse, quite neatly. Father is as strong as ever. Boy, you are getting sweeter as you get older. Qi Zheng is of medium height, with a gray beard, dark eyes, and a straight figure. The face is gentle, but not angry or intimidating. When he was young, he was also a handsome man. Father, please, mother is waiting, Chi Yi said. Okay, everyone go in first. A group of people walked in noisily. The stewards, and sergeants were all busy performing their duties. In the room, Mrs. Tan was unusually restless. She was dressed much more neatly and elegantly today than usual. Sue had been feeling unwell in the early stages of her pregnancy and her complexion was not very good. Seeing Mrs. Tan's appearance, she joked and said, "Grandma is in extra spirit today." Mrs. Tan smiled and said, "Wear all these good jewelry for your grandfather to see. Don't let him think that all the good things I gave you have been lost to you." Mrs. remained calm but sneered in her heart. She preferred to talk about these boring topics. "Grandma, don't accuse us wrongly. I'm worried about whether your grandfather has any new injuries," Mr. Tan said with a slight look on his face. "When I come back this time, my grandfather won't leave, right?" Mrs. asked. "Who knows? These men, for the sake of the imperial court and the Qi family, have to live in the open air, alas." After speaking, he glanced at Mrs. from the corner of his eye. Mrs. acted as if she hadn't heard anything. Mrs. nodded quickly, "Yes, yes. My father and third uncle have worked too hard." Wang, who had just come out of the full moon and was plump, also nodded. Zhang Mocking smiled and said nothing. After a while, the mother-in-law came in. "Old madam, the Marquis is back." Ms. Tan quickly stood up and walked out of the door in a few steps. She stood under the eaves and looked at the visitor excitedly. "Master Ho," she bowed deeply, her voice filled with surprise and excitement. This scene is rare among elderly couples. Made Su Minghui envious. She very much hopes that she and Qi Xiao can do the same. "Madam, you're polite, let's go in and talk." The Marquis looked at the old wife seriously, raised his hand, and everyone went in. The two old men took their seats, and the children and grandchildren below stood up and kowtowed. The Marquis laughed and said, "Okay. Get up, everyone. I have brought gifts for you and will deliver them to your respective courtyards in a moment." Everyone thanked him again. When Tan saw it, Qi Yuduan's wife, Lu, had also returned with the Marquis. This is the daughter-in-law chosen by Mrs. Tan herself for her son. Generous, gentle, considerate, and the mother of 3 sons, Mrs. Tan is very proud of her. I Min. Mother-in-law, Lu Aimin stepped forward and saluted. Behind her were 2 men, one large and one young, and a young woman behind her. "You are, and this is, Cheng-er. Grandma." Ms. Tan was really excited and looked at the 2 of them with wet eyes. At a quick glance, Qi Yu and Qi Wu look very similar. They are about the same height, short, fat, and thin, and their waists are also similar. Furthermore, Qi Yu is also very white, but it is not the jade-like whiteness of Qi Wu, but a pale white without blood. Thick black eyebrows and eye hair, a pair of peach blossom eyes, and thin lips. Not as serious as Qi Wu, but chic and flamboyant. "Oh, my Yuer," Mrs. Tan stretched out her hand, and Qi Yu let Mrs. Tan pull him, smiling softly, showing her white teeth. "You are so good looking." Qi Zheng burst out laughing. "Grandma, my grandson is not a girl, how can you describe it like this?" Qi Yu looked dissatisfied, but felt proud in her heart. "What's the difference between men and women? Good looking is good looking. Cheng-er is only 13, but he has grown so big." Lu Aimin said, "Mom, Quan-er is with your husband this time and has not come back. Let your wife come and say hello to you on his behalf. Let me introduce to mother again. This is Yuer's wife, Zhu Manmiao." After that, he passed the back. "Young woman." Zhu Manmiao stepped forward and said, "Meet my grandmother." This marriage was decided by the son and his daughter-in-law. Her father was a general soldier, and few people in the capital knew about it, but he was considered a local emperor locally. The Zhou family is very thin, not tall, petite, and exquisite, with watery almond-shaped eyes. She is very beautiful and has a sense of arrogance about her body. With a satisfied look on her face, Mrs. Tan turned around and took out a set of jewelry. You look like a good boy at first sight. You are back home and down to earth. This is your sister-in-law. If you don't understand anything in the future, just ask her. Yes. Sister-in-law, Mrs. Zhu greeted Su Minghui. Third younger brother and sister, the Su family was close to the Tan family, so they treated this third younger brother and sister very kindly. Master Ho, this is Zhang, Xiaxi's new daughter-in-law, Tan introduced her calmly. Zhang mocking stepped forward and saluted, meet my grandfather. The Ho Ye saw Zhang mocking, calm, and his impression was not bad. Okay. Send the meeting gift back to Xiaxi Yuan. Thank you, Grandpa. Chi Yu heard that this was the fourth younger brother and sister who had just entered the family, so he took a serious look at them, saw their appearance clearly, and curled his lips. Mrs. Zhu got to know her eldest sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, and fourth younger sister-in-law. From her point of view, these people should not be difficult to get along with. Her natal family has a big business. I have been to the capital for a long time. He didn't come from a small place or a small portal. Don't underestimate me. Mrs. Tan asked about the body of the Marquis in detail, and then talked about important family matters. The atmosphere was very peaceful. Suddenly Mrs. Tan remembered and asked, why didn't you go to the palace when you came back? The emperor asked someone to wait at the city gate and said he would give me 2 days off to rest. The documents have been sent up. Amitba, your majesty is considerate. When you come over to rest, our house will be lively. Good. Xiao Wu is getting married soon, and I have been worried that you won't come back. The Marquis looked at his eldest son, who was old but still energetic. There were also Chi Wu and Chi Yu, who laughed and said, who would have thought that our martial arts family would produce so many beautiful men? Chi Yu saw that Chi's eyes were not squinting and his face was expressionless. He was a little dissatisfied. Tan Chi smiled and said, I heard that your great-uncle is known as Golden Spear and Jade Horse. So, Jun's Hawaii is passed down from our ancestors. Mr. Ho laughed loudly. After everyone talked for a while, Chi Yi said, Father, please wash up and rest first. In the evening, your children and grandchildren will have a reunion dinner with you. Mr. Ho was really tired from the journey. When he went in to take a bath, Mrs. Tan personally waited on him because she wanted to check whether Mr. Ho was injured. Sure enough, she found 2 new ones. One on the shoulder and one on the leg. I couldn't help but shed tears. How old are you? Why are you still working so hard? Okay. It's okay. This part of my leg was scraped by a dry branch while hunting. It's not a problem. You are too careless. It's really okay. After taking a shower and changing clothes, the old couple sat and drank tea. Mrs. Tan was in tears again. What's wrong? Mr. Ho asked her. I want to have sex, with you. I really want to. You, who are still so good-natured, will soon have grandchildren. Mrs. Tan burst into tears and smiled. In my mother's eyes, he will always be that arrogant little boy. Now it's time for the general to speak his mind. Does what he does please the Marquis? Tan asked cautiously. I brought it out myself, it's unmistakable. Well, our family is a strict father and a loving mother. Speaking of myself, with such a big business, why not live a good life in the capital? I have to suffer outside. Thinking about it, I feel sad. A man must make great achievements. Only with men like us working hard can you live a good life. I come from a humble background, and everything I have today is given by the Marquis. No matter how much I have, I am content with it. You're a good person too, when you come back this time, you're ready to do that. Qi Zhen looked solemn. But I feel very uneasy in my heart. When it comes to pain, Yuyi and Yuduan are the same in my eyes. Even thinking about Yuyi being without a mother since he was a child, I love him even more. This decision of yours, I am worried that Yuyi will not be able to save his face. If this is the case, I would rather let Yuduan suffer a little more. You don't have to worry about this, I've seen your sincerity towards the children for so many years. Okay. Another blind person. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 225. As the wedding day approaches, Wen Yu starts to rush. Originally, she thought that with her own ability and no shortage of money, she would be able to get it easily. So when everyone urged her, she didn't pay attention. But when we got there, we realized that there were a lot of things to do. Although old Mrs. Wen gave a lot of dowry, they were all beautiful and valuable and could be displayed to save face. As for the delicate things of life after becoming a wife, it was originally taken care of by her own mother, but she has no mother. My aunt put a lot of thought into it and helped with a lot of things. But because she had not had much money for many years, the things she bought were all good to use, but certainly not elegant. Master Qing and Yanzu had to take care of the shop, so Wen Yu had to keep busy by himself. Feeling agitated, I walked around asking Qi Wu to see what he was doing. Was he as busy as me? As a result, I found that as usual, I stayed away from home all day long. After finally having some free time, I was dragged along by my grandfather who had just returned home. He was either going out or entertaining guests, so I didn't worry about the wedding at all. When you couldn't help but secretly compete. Fortunately, MRSG was very considerate and decorated the new house according to her own taste. Then, wander around all day long, and if you are dissatisfied, you can open a private bank. After a while, I took it out and put it on the table. After a while, I was not satisfied again, so I opened a private treasury to exchange it. A tossing and turning. Then, the girl reported to Su Minghui again and again. Su thought that when she married into the house, although the house was neatly decorated, there was no personal touch. Valuable items are also limited. Originally, she had been feeling uncomfortable recently and had a quarrel with her husband. After being so irritated, she just lay on the bed and started to scream. Mrs. Ten was greatly distressed when she heard the news, and quickly invited a doctor she knew well. The doctor said that the pregnancy was not good, and the pregnant woman's mood was not good either. I prescribed a few medicines, but after taking them, I didn't feel better, but turned red. Perhaps Su Minghui was so frightened that she didn't dare to get out of bed. Looking at the chaotic household affairs, Ms. Tan quickly said to her daughter-in-law Ms. Lu, Xiao Wu is about to get married, but Minghui is ill. Look at this mess. Please help to deal with it. Ms. Lu nodded in agreement and took the hand calmly. MRSG knew that Mr. Su was ill, so she quickly invited an old doctor who was close to the Kui family. As a result, Su Minghui was still pretentious. Even when the doctor came, she still refused to let him see her. Qi Xiao was so angry that she thought she was indifferent, so he yelled at her a few times before she became honest. This imperial doctor is very skilled. He took the medicine and gradually got better. But the imperial doctor ordered, relax and rest in bed. Wait until the situation is stable before getting out of bed. Mrsu didn't dare to make any more fuss, so she just lay there for 2 days. An experienced woman beside her, looking at the housework going on in an orderly manner, wondered, how come the third lady took over everything about the fifth master's marriage? Hold a wedding banquet, not only a lot of oil and water, but also involve all aspects. Why do you feel that the situation is a bit? Beside Yanzu, there is a Chinsui who calls He, who has been following him inseparably lately, and his inner name is Hwazi. Don't say it, this hay is really useful. There was no need for Yanzu to give orders for everything. With just a look from her, or even just a thought, the other party would understand and make proper arrangements. Yanzu was extremely satisfied with him and said to Wenyu, he is capable, and he doesn't need to be paid, as long as he is fully managed. The first time Wenyu saw the clean hello, he felt familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it. Before I could figure it out, I was distracted by chores. Li Zhang was careful and asked him to pay attention. Although the news that came back was messy, there seemed to be nothing wrong with it, it was silent and never crossed the line. The key is to be obedient. Yanzu is unorganized when doing things. He points here and there and he just runs around. He doesn't care if he repeats it, and he doesn't correct it if he makes a mistake. Still sitting there helping Yanzu divide the lines. When you told Sun Ying, Jin Huan, and the others to pay more attention. She was packing her things, and distributed the unwearable, fancy, and less valuable jewelry to the little girls in the store. She also divided the jewelry left by her mother among her cousins and Yanzu. As she was packing, she suddenly found out the hairpin she had picked up at Tianlong Temple, the hairpin dropped by that peerless beauty. Hold it in my hand, thinking of Yi Ren, I sighed for a while, and stopped thinking about it, and put it in the jewelry box for Yanzu. Yanzu took it back, and while tidying it up happily, she told the people around her, in the past, I was allowed to wear Ao's jewelry as I pleased. She was very kind to me. This time, I gave her all the jewelry I like, she remembers it all. Hey, where did this come from? Yanzu picked up the hairpin, I've never seen her wearing it before. What is this? It's a little strange. Hey, he saw it at a glance, came up in 2 steps, and stretched out his hand, just took it. Yanzu didn't care, this is not pretty, I like this. The man looked at the hairpin in his hand, his eyes focused, and his pupils reflected the luster of that special material. The last trace of dullness in his eyes disappeared instantly. Look, I like this hairpin the most, it comes in 3 colors, it's perfect for matching with clothes. Jinhuan said, this is beautiful. The girl gave me and my sister a pearl hairpin as well. I never thought that one day we would be able to wear pearls. A few people were talking and laughing. Hold the hairpin in his hand, the man raised his eyes to the sky outside the door and stayed quietly for a while. Then, he handed it to Yanzu, this is the most beautiful, so put it away and don't lose it. Why did you talk so much today? Yanzu happily put it in a small box and put it away. 2 days before the wedding, Mr. Wen sent his 3rd son, Wenchuo, to Beijing. Also coming together were Guan and the 2 sisters Wenjing and Wenman. That old man is also very tight. He sent people a long time ago to buy a yard in the capital, which is even better than the Wen family. Although old Mrs. Wen brought the storm under control with ruthless measures, Wen Qian's reputation was not too damaged. However, with Yuan's absence, the family's social life was still affected. Lately, she has been cautious, so she was not in a mood to argue with the news of Wenchuo's arrival and property purchase. Instead, she was more gentle than before. Wenchuo walked down the and left Guan and his daughter at the Wen family, while he ran to the newly bought yard. Mr. Guan is very capable and very good at dealing with others. Mrs. Wen cannot find fault with everything she says or does. Sisters Wenjing and Wenman are affectionate and talk to the old lady. It seems that they are well educated. Seeing them and thinking of Wen Huan, Mrs. Wen felt unhappy. I feel like my grandchildren here, apart from Wen Yu, really don't stand out much. Mrs. Guan brought the dowry given to Wen Yu by Mrs. Wen. Wen Yu opened the list and saw, wow, there are silver coins, jewelry, high-quality medicinal materials, fresh cloth, and some ornaments. Why is the old man so generous? She didn't know that the old man from the Qi family was always showing off, Always telling people that he had someone above him. Don't say it, it works. Having benefited, they still want to maintain the relationship, so they are generous. Mr. Guan also gave her some extra makeup, and even Wenjing and Wenman expressed their feelings. Wen Yu couldn't help but sigh that the third uncle was as good as the second uncle. But the third aunt, who has raised two girls so well, must have good character. So, there was a sense of intimacy. Guan didn't hide anything, and told Wen Yu about his plan to go to Beijing. There are few good men where we stay. Wenjing has been looking for a marriage for a long time, but she is not satisfied, so she wants to come to the capital to try her luck. Ayu, third aunt wants to ask your help in this matter. Say shamelessly come out, don't blame me. How can I blame my third aunt for thinking about my daughter? I just don't know. What are your conditions? Mr. Guan talked about the conditions. The main ones are a clean family background, a progressive man, and preferably a scholar. It can be heard that Mrs. Guan really cares about her daughter. Think about the Yuan family again, what a world of difference. When you nodded, if you say so, I can help you take a look. Mrs. Guan was very happy. Hand over Wen Yu's dowry, which is mainly some private things, in person. Wen Yu really didn't realize some of them, so Guan taught her patiently. This time, not only Wen Yu, but also Wen Jing and Wen Man, as well as Wen Su who came over to listen, benefited a lot. Wen Jiao has recently become the princess, and Wen Huan is no longer an eyesore. Once Wen Yu gets married, she will be the eldest in the family, so she is putting on airs. Wen Wan is even more snobbish. Even if the two of them come here, they don't care about these chores. Master Zhang and his family finally arrived in the capital. Wen Qian has been depressed recently and has a premature appearance. After Master Zhang settled in, he went to look for him and told with tears the ups and downs of this period. Master Zhang is so comforted. The relationship between the two people has become closer. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 226. The night before Qi Wu got married. Qi Zheng came back from outside, feeling drunk. When we arrived at Tan's house, she was not there. When I asked, she said she had gone to Grandma's house. After a while, Mrs. Tan came back and saw her husband alone in the house, so she quickly started to serve him personally. Seeing that there was no one around, Mrs. Tan said, "Master Ho, I have found a girl for you, and I have been raising her in the small courtyard for a year. She looks very cute. Do you want her to take care of you?" "No need," Qi Zheng waved his hand. "This is my wish. I am old and frail, and my brain and hands are dull. I am afraid that I cannot take good care of you. You are a generous person and have made many arrangements for me. I gave them away last time. As I get older, I take these things lightly. There is no point in keeping a little girl by your side and misleading others. It's better to stay with me. Brothers have a great time drinking, chatting, and writing military strategies. Oh my God, Lord Ho, I can't understand your state. Haha, don't worry about it. But when you come back, you won't stop drinking, please be careful." "It's okay, what did you go to do?" "Brother Xiao, there's something wrong with your wife, I'll go take a look." "Have you invited the doctor?" "How many times have I invited you, alas." Ms. Tan sat next to him. "Isn't it good?" Qi Zheng knew that his eldest grandson's wife was pregnant. "I'd say she doesn't have major physical problems, but there are too many things on her mind. She has a strong temper, and she encounters unpleasant people, alas. I haven't had time to talk to you privately. How are you doing at home?" "They didn't make you angry, right?" Qi Zheng asked seriously. It is unavoidable for a wife to be from a low background and sometimes hear gossip from people outside the family. Mrs. was stunned for a while, and then sighed softly. This surprised Chi-ho. What? Just say what you have to say. Everything else is fine. Even if he has a wife who is suitable for him, well, I don't even know where to start talking about it. Sue is the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, so they are natural enemies. Yuyi and Chi Xiao were close to me, but Kui felt awkward. I thought about it for a long time, and I guess there were two things that offended her, one was Xiao Yun, and the other was Sue. This concubine and one wife were all decided by me, so I offended her and suffered. Otherwise, she returned to her hometown for more than half a year last year. Qi Zheng then remembered and smiled, you don't have to do this. I agree with her going back to do this. If Yuyi and Qi Xiao hadn't been busy these years, they should have gone. Mrs. Tan felt resentful in her heart, but said angrily on her face, I wish I could build the tombs of my ancestors and my sister. This is not what I mean by my concubine. Qi Zheng smiled again, okay. That's not the case. I am telling the truth. Moreover, this is not the main reason why she went back, she is worried that I will find a wife for Xiao Wu again. Therefore, in the name of repairing the tomb, I want to make a decision for Xiao Wu. House daughter. The Qin family, isn't it the Qin family where Xiao went to school? Isn't it? I thought that the Qin family had a good reputation, so it would be nice to succeed. But she went back, but she didn't succeed. The girl from the Qin family married into the Zhang family of Duke Jingguo, thinking of it, Mrs. Tan still it's so cool. Is this happening? Qi Zheng frowned, he was not happy. I'm still lying to you. She can go get engaged. She must have discussed it before. Is this the Qin family breaking the contract? Huh, I don't know how the good reputation spread. She does such a job. Qi Zheng's mind is not completely wrong. It's impossible if you don't succeed. Xiao is so outstanding, and there are so many good girls in the capital. How many people came to me just to inquire? As a result, she told MRSG how she insisted on having her own way. Unexpectedly, Qi Zheng said, Master Zhang, I met him in the court the day before yesterday. He is a down-to-earth man. And he has 3 jinchi in one subject, tisk, which has not happened in many years in the whole dynasty. That is quite a sight. Look at Xiao, the 4th daughter-in-law is stable and generous. This is a good choice. Damn old man. Mrs. Tan secretly resented it and quickly went back to make amends. Yes, when Mo Qing came in, I often asked her to come over and talk. She is indeed a good girl. I'm not saying that she chose the wrong one. But the warmth that Xiao Wu was given home. Alas. Is it inappropriate for the Wen family? The family is well off, and her father is a jinchi, so she looks respectable, but this girl took over Kui's shop as soon as she entered the capital. She made a public appearance and took care of it with a group of people. Business is pretty good. But, people like us. At this point, Qi Zhen nodded. The Qi family has no shortage of money. What does it look like for a woman to be doing business outside? If you have a nice shop, just rent it out. Besides, before the opening, Mrs. Tan's eyes turned red. We opened it for 2 days to invite relatives and friends. The entire Kui family went. I heard that even General Kui brought a group of friends. But our family, Feng Ying, didn't even ask. After hearing this, Qi Zheng thought to himself, the horse's leg is crooked here. Although the shop belongs to the Kui family, it is opened by a girl from the Wen family. Before we got married, my husband's family all went out to eat and drink, which didn't look very nice to anyone. Yes, everyone who goes there is from a prominent background. A village girl like me is. Okay. Don't be angry. We deserve this. Listen to you, This Miss Wen is really inappropriate. The impression on him was not very good. There's more. Mrs. Tan wiped her eyes and became serious. Miss Wen has a girl. I heard that she always follows Prince Yongqing, the legitimate son of King Wu. Somehow, he caused a scandal with Jin Zi from Duke Xingguo's family, and the princess caught him. Duke Xingguo was scolded by the emperor, and Jin Zi was beaten. Qi Zheng became angry when he heard this. What kind of mess is this? You're making such a fuss, and you still want to marry her. I'm so willing to be a mother-in-law. I don't know what kind of magic soup that girl gave Feng Ying, but she was so kind to her. Otherwise, Mrs. keeps tossing her? If the trouble continues like this, I think the baby will be born. Come on, call the boss and his wife. Master Ho. If you call me now, won't you make them think that I am spreading gossip? Mrs. Tan was anxious and quickly stopped her. After all, my mother-in-law and daughter-in-law are living this life. Don't make me look like a human being inside and outside. Even if they knew it was you who said it, what could they do to you? Go. Dad. After a while, Qi Yi and Mrsg came in. Qi is sitting upright, wearing his home clothes and looking calm. Well, sit down. I've been busy since I got back, so I didn't have time to ask. That girl from the Wen family, what do you like about her? He looked at Mrsg and asked her. Since she knew her father-in-law was coming back, Mrsg and Wen Yu discussed all the possibilities. Worried that the Tan family would cause trouble, but there has been no movement. Unexpectedly, on the first day of the wedding, my father-in-law started to cause trouble. Qi Yi glanced at Mrsg unhappily. Mrsg spoke softly and said with a smile, Father, this girl from the Wen family is called Wen Yu. The Wen family is well off, their grandfather is a Juren, her father is a Jinchi, and her biological mother, Chen, also comes from a scholarly family. Wen's family is well off. The girl grew up with her grandmother, Mrs. Wen, who is also a well-known local philanthropist. She also glanced at Mr. Tan lightly. Tan's anger, doesn't it mean that I have no background? She glanced at her husband secretly, but he didn't respond. My daughter-in-law and Miss Wen really didn't meet each other through seeing each other instead, they met by chance several times. My daughter-in-law discovered that this girl is not only good-looking and talented, but also has a very good temperament. She respects her elders and is loyal to her friends. Before, she went to Kui's house. From my father to Yuan, no one dislikes her. Even my sister-in-law, who is such a serious person, smiles at her. Father said, this girl has the temperament of the Kui family. When my daughter-in-law took a look, she really looked like her when she was young, no wonder she is so popular. Qi Zheng was speechless. If I am dissatisfied with her, then I am dissatisfied with you, and by extension, I am also dissatisfied with your father. Tan's dark eyes looked at Mrsg. Okay, you. Father, Miss Wen is very capable. My daughter-in-law has given her 2 shops. One of them opens a restaurant called Yuzi Yowei. What's your name? Qi Zheng fainted. He was invited by his friends the night before. He also said that although this restaurant has a fancy name, it tastes really good and he would like to take his family there again someday. It's delicious. Ha! It's true. How did I hear that her family had a bad family tradition, and her sister committed suicide because of scandal? I don't know who is talking nonsense, Mrsg said with a stern face. She finally couldn't help it anymore. Mr. Kui, Qi Zheng shouted unhappily. Qi Yi said quickly, why are you talking? Father, everything is clear. The second sister of her family went to an appointment with her girlfriend who knows how the one from Xingguo's family got there. It's a private secret of the palace, and we can't say more. The Wen family suffered a big loss and there was nothing they could do. The emperor even rebuked King Wu and Duke Xingguo. The empress also called Princess Wu to inquire. But nothing happened to Mr. Wen. What else is there to say? Qi Zheng had nothing to say when he heard this. Tan said, but I heard before that Miss Wen was following Yongqing and the others, running around. This rule. MRSG wanted to point her nose and ask, how did you get to the capital? Didn't you count it yourself? But she can't say. My son is getting married tomorrow. After enduring it, he said, Madam, young men and women in the capital also socialize. Even Xiaomao, when invited by friends to go out to play, there are men playing polo, chess, and sword dancing there. Kui, please stop saying a few words. Qi Yiyi felt that she was contradicting Tan. Tan Shi choked, looked at Qi Zheng, and lowered his head. Okay. No matter what, if something like that happens, the woman's family will definitely be the unlucky one. This girl from the Wen family has entered the house, you have to teach her well. Qi Zheng thought for a while, but there was nothing he could do. Yes, MRSG agreed happily. Besides, Qi Xiao and Qi Yang are both your biological sons. Especially, Qi Xiao is the eldest son, so he should be relied on more. Even if you can't do it, at least you should have a bowl of water. MRSG wanted to point her nose and ask her father-in-law again, why don't you rely on your eldest son? Why don't you even out the bowl? These accusations were on her lips, but she just lowered her eyebrows and said submissively, that's what father said. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 227. Chapter 227 Riding a White Horse. A few days ago, Zhang Zhongqing ran all over the capital and found a pair of porcelain dolls. As a wedding gift, Wen Yu personally sent it to her before she got married. Wen Yu looked at the girl wearing a floral dress with a smile on her face. The boy's hair was combed up to the sky, with one hand pointing to the sky and the other to his lips. Ayu, I hope you will go well in your life and everything will be done according to your heart. Wen Yu is so lucky to have brother Zhongqing as a friend in this life, I also hope that brother Zhongqing can meet a woman who values you. Two people looked at each other and smiled. She is getting married, and of course her cousin will be the one to give her to her. The wealthy Uncle Song directly took out a big envelope and said, here is 100,000 silver. I'll steal it to pay off the debt and add some makeup. That's it, don't ask for any more, he groaned angrily. Explain. Cousin, help me prop up the shop. Seeing Song Shang glare at her, he changed his mind and said, it's a partnership. This is the greatest support for me. I'll accept your kindness. I don't want any money. I know that your shop is doing well and there is no shortage of money. But take this, too. Marrying a man as you wish does not mean that you will live happily ever after. Being a daughter-in-law, a wife, and a mother in the future. Thinking of his past with Wei Xianjiao, they were reluctant to get married, and then they didn't pay attention to it, so it was a mess in the end. Silver only gives you the confidence to live a good life. But if you really want to live a good life, you have to rely on your own efforts. Cousin, when you suddenly felt sentimental. You don't have to be like this. My marriage should be finalized soon. Really? Why haven't you heard of it? When you was surprised. It was MRSMO who held the string, do you dare to believe it? Song Shang shook his head and smiled bitterly. He also doesn't understand why women who get married are so keen on keeping a matchmaker. MRSMO has been with Mr. MO for many years, and she is usually stern, but when she talks about marriage, she becomes very happy. I met MRSMO in the shop, and before we even got acquainted with her, I dared to open my mouth and ask for a commission. And MRSMO actually agreed very simply. Whose girl is it? Have I seen it? You haven't seen it? When you get down to business, maybe you won't be able to wait until that time. My mother is quite satisfied, that's all she wants, so I'll obey it. Cousin, you. When you wanted to tell him that he shouldn't think so. Only what you like in your heart will make a good marriage. However, when he thought about what he had in mind, it was all in vain. Thinking again about my original intention when I got engaged to the Chi family, I was very lucky. I wanted to take advantage of it, but I met the sincere MRSG and Chi Wu. Cousin may be like this too. Cousin, maybe she is the right person. I hope so. Song Shang looked at the little girl who would become the new dowry tomorrow. That beautiful is so lucky, he exclaimed. The next day, just after dawn, Wen Yu was arrested. Xinjiang is full of things inside and outside, full of principles and auspicious words. Wash up, twist your face, comb your hair, put on makeup, and change clothes. This set of procedures will take a long time. Yanzu stayed with her all night. From now on, there is no chance for two people to sleep on the same bed. Smiling, looking at Wen Yu and gesticulating while dressing up. The Wen family's lights were brightly lit, the door was open, and everyone started getting busy. At dawn, several unexpected people came to the door. It is Uncle Chen and Aunt Chen's party. Wen Qian had already dressed and was sitting silently in a daze when he heard the announcement. In fact, he really thought about the Chen family's affairs and what he would do if they showed up. But when it actually appeared, he felt a little frightened again. Old Mrs. Wen hadn't finished dressing yet. When she heard the news, "Hurry up," she ordered the person who was dressing her. Wen Qian had no choice but to close his eyes and take a deep breath to welcome him out. Uncle Chen and Aunt Chen, neatly dressed, stood side by side. Followed by two daughters, they were dressed in Yongxiang products and had jewelry on their heads. They were smiling and whispering. They were very beautiful. Chen Wenxi is wearing a navy blue academic robe. He lives a comfortable life and is much more handsome. Also accompanied by Chen Wenliang. Chen Wenliang is quite tall, dark, and thin, with thin arms and legs, and brighter eyes. He looks very strong at first glance. But he was sullen and unhappy. He hated Wen Yu so much, but he suffered a lot. This time he was attending a wedding. The instructor gave him 3 days off and said, if he dares not to go back, he will be considered a deserter and will be caught with 50 military sticks. Based on his previous experience, he would definitely not dare to run away again. So I was so angry, hoping to see the eldest brother of the Wen family fall over when he was carrying the girl to the sedan chair. Wen Qian struggled to speak. Big brother. He didn't recognize him at all. Uncle Chen looked at Wen Qian calmly. He was wearing a sapphire blue dress and had a graceful demeanor. At this age, he has already achieved his current achievements. Originally, one should be admired and respected. But now, standing in front of him, his eyes dodge and his back can't straighten. It's true, you are a beautiful woman, but how can you be a thief? I'm here to send Wen Yu off to get married, Uncle Chen said calmly. Wen Qian didn't know what to say for a moment. Wen Feng ran out with a smile on his face. Oh my god. Is it Ao's uncle? Oops. Good times bring rare visitors. How happy Ao is to know. Hurry. Go tell the old lady and Wen Yu that her uncle and aunt are here. Is this, Ling Lang? Still there? Yes, please come in quickly, please come in. It was only then that Wen Qian reacted, brother, please come in. Uncle Chen also smiled, today is indeed a good day. Come in. As soon as the group entered the house, old Mrs. Wen came. She was really afraid that the Chen family would cause trouble. Hey, in-laws, this is an unexpected surprise, Ao's great day, she must be very happy if you can come. Aunt Chen smiled and said, yes, old lady, can we go and see her? Of course. She is getting dressed and putting on makeup. I will take you there myself. You two will entertain the distinguished guests well. Wenfeng said, Mother, these are our relatives. Yes, Yes. Aunt Chen, please. She led the Chen family women back. As soon as the men sat down, Wen Shuo arrived. He himself is a flatterer, and with Wen Feng, even though Wen Qian was a little dull, the atmosphere at the scene did not cool down. When his nieces get married, Uncle Chen will certainly not cause trouble and will practice Tai Chi with them. Old Mrs. Wen walked and said with a smile, "You two girls have done well. So do we, you. We are smart, sensible, and capable. It is not easy for the Wen family to get a marriage from the Qi family. You see, Qi is at Iagoro? To this day, I can't believe that he is the Wen family's son-in-law." Aunt Chen heard what Mrs. Wen was saying and smiled but said nothing. "Please take a look at the dowry list later. If there's anything wrong, I'll change it as soon as possible. Oh, this girl, I don't even need to worry about the wedding dress. It's all from her own shop. I took a look at it last night. It's really shabby. Eye-catching. It's so pretty, don't you know, that girl has opened 2 big shops." Aunt Chen smiled lightly, "I know. Wen Hui and Wenjia are both helping out." Mrs. Wen was stunned for a moment. "This is very embarrassing." "Yeah? Ouch, this girl didn't even say a word to me. I don't go to that shop very often, so I'm afraid of disturbing her." When someone entered the room, Wen Yu was negotiating with 11 Niang, "Why don't you paint it like this? It's not like painting the wall." Yan Zhu also said, "Yes, mother, our Ahio is so beautiful. If you paint it in white, you can't see anything. But, that's how it is all." Mrs. Wen smiled and said, "Wait a minute. You, who do you think is coming?" Aunt Chen shouted excitedly, "Ayu! Aunt? Cousin, and Jier. Why are you here?" "Godmother," Yan Zhu cheered and ran over. "Of course your aunt will come on your wedding day. Look at you." "Aunt," Wen Yu and Yan Zhu each held Aunt Chen's arm. "You doesn't want to look like that," she actually acted coquettishly. Old Mrs. Wen is in a complicated mood, yes. I filled in so many good things, but I didn't get a single word of kindness from her, this white-eyed wolf. "Aunt Chen, please speak first, my hair hasn't been combed yet." Aunt Chen nodded, "You are busy." Old Mrs. Wen had just taken a few steps when she heard laughter coming from behind. "Well, fortune plays tricks on people. I just hope things go smoothly from now on." Several people gathered around Wen, talking, dressing, and commenting. It actually took a long time, but it felt like it didn't take long before someone shouted, here comes, the groom is here." Everyone became nervous. There was even more laughter at the front, firecrackers were set off, copper coins were scattered, and the excitement was endless. The groom, Chi Wu, appeared on stage surrounded by his brothers and friends. He is wearing a bright red groom's robe embroidered with gold thread, and a jade belt around his waist, which outlines his broad shoulders and thin waist. Wearing a black silk crown on his head and black half boots on his feet. A face like white jade, eyes like stars. "Perhaps this is the first time you are getting married." He was a little nervous, pursed his lips slightly, and spoke and moved like a wooden man under the heckles of others. Wen Feng was neither big nor small, and he used many tricks to create difficulties. Chi Wu's emotional intelligence is just a little flat, but he's not stupid. After answering fluently, he also relaxed. Wen Qian was shaking and sweating as he twisted the corners of his clothes with his hands. This was his son-in-law. At this time, Yanzu and Wenjia helped Wen Yu out. Chi Wu's black eyes stared at her and stopped moving. When bidding farewell to their elders, Mrs. Wen Qian, and Uncle Chen all said a few words, which were nothing more than filial piety to parents-in-law and harmony between husband and wife. Wen Qian put the hijab on herself, and Brother Feng leaned over and carried her into the sedan. At that moment, Chi Wu actually grinned. Finally, he married her home. I don't know who is spreading the news about Chi Vuchang's marriage. 1 passes 2, 2 passes 16, 16 passes hundreds. So, there were quite a few people watching the ceremony along the way. The restaurants and tea houses along the street were occupied, and people were also standing on the wider roadside. When Chi Wuling, dressed in red, came to greet the bride on a white horse, it ignited the longing of many women. And when he brought his bride home amidst the sound of playing and beating, countless women had tears in their eyes. There is a problem, the name of the next chapter is not good, it needs to be reviewed, and I don't know when it will be released. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 228. The sedan chair bumped slightly all the way and entered the Chi family. When Yu, who was covered with a veil, heard the commotion outside. The sound was so loud that even 11 Guanus words could not be heard. As soon as the sedan curtain opened, Chi Wu thrust a piece of silk tied with red flowers into her hand. "Ayu, we're home. Come with me." When Yu stood up and followed him towards the house. "The bride has come out," someone cheered. Chi Wu walked forward slowly, walking a few feet and looking back. "Don't worry, Wulang, your wife is following behind. She's not lost." People around were making noises again. Qi Zheng, Mr. Tan, MRSG and Qi Yuyi were sitting in the main seats. MRSG is in the best mood today, dressed most gorgeously, and smiling all over her face. MRS Tan also smiled and teased Qi Yuyi, "I have never seen your wife so happy. Look, she is several years younger." Qi Yuyi was actually unhappy, but what could he do? He grinned. Qi Xiao, who was next to him, felt his heart sinking slightly after hearing this. The indignation on Su's face can be seen by others. The newlyweds came to the front and stood in front of the kneeling mat. "They are so beautiful," this is Tan's praise. "No matter who you are, you have to admit that this is what the so-called bi people are like." After praying to heaven and earth, Wen Yu was sent to the new house. She didn't lift the hijab and couldn't see the road clearly. She felt that she had walked a long way. Until I heard a cheer from Xiaji, 5th Master, 5th Grandma. "Congratulations on your wedding," then, many people shouted after him. It turned out that we were in our own courtyard. As soon as he entered the room and sat down, Chi Wu held Ruyi in his hand and lifted his hijab. Two people's eyes met, Xiafei's cheeks. Chi Wu knew that Wen Yu was good looking, but he had never seen him look so gorgeous and radiant like now. He was stunned immediately. Although Chi Wu's clothes have always been very particular, it is the first time that Wen Yu has seen them as gorgeous as today. "This is my husband." Everything the two people knew about each other came to mind. Meet her for the first time by the lakeside, rescue Yuan Yuan, chase her in terror in Tianlong Temple, Orange Garden, and threaten her with evidence in the woods of Zanquan Villa. It is precisely because of his goodwill and constant efforts and struggles that he finally punished the evildoer and married the man he wanted. "Wen Yu, you are so great." She looked at her masterpiece with satisfaction. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Chi Wu's ears were red, and he reached out and poured 2 glasses of wine. Two people drank with their arms intertwined. As soon as the wine entered his mouth, Wen Yu felt drunk. "Wulang, I am very happy to marry you." Chi Wu's heart was beating wildly. The blood all over his body rushed away. He was very excited. "5th Master. His Royal Highness Taizhen has arrived, and the Marquis is calling you from the front," a voice called outside the door. Chi Wu was so frightened that he almost had an accident. He couldn't help but secretly regret that he didn't come early and didn't come late. It was intentional. "Then, I'll go ahead and take a look, you wait for me." After saying that, he didn't dare to look at Wen Yu anymore and ran away. 5th MRS, Xiaji twisted her fat body and came in with a smile. Xiaoji arrived at Qi's house 2 days early. As soon as she arrived, the entire Qi family knew that the fifth wife who was about to come in had a big shop in her hands. Not short of money. Led by the maid next to Mrs. Qi, Xiaoji's fat body could be seen doing things on the door, in the kitchen, in the warehouse, cleaning, and doing laundry everywhere. She can talk, the key is to spread money along the way. Everywhere you go, there are compliments. From now on, if Miss Xiaoji has something to do, just take care of her. Everyone laughed so hard that they couldn't even see their eyes. In the end, even the person who cleans up the dirt in Wuye's courtyard behaves like a first-class girl when he goes out. This caused dissatisfaction among several people. First of all, the eldest grandma, Mrs. Su, was in good health, but she was knocked unconscious by sugar-coated bombs all over the yard. What does this want to do? Sue's dowry was invisible, so it took a lot of effort to get in, and then she stood firm with Tan's help. What's the matter? Show off that she has money. This bitch. Another person who is unhappy is the third grandma Zhu, who has just entered the family. Zhu's natal family only gave instructions to these servants, but no favors. If you don't do well, kill them. Still need to spend money. So she entered the Qi family in the capital without any awareness of this aspect. What's going on? You want to overwhelm me and steal my limelight. Why do you come from the same place as me? Second grandma Wang, when the girl came back to her, she didn't care. Why bother for a newcomer to be so eye-catching? The fourth grandma, Zhang mocking, is of course on the same side as Wen Yu. Seeing Xiaoji running around the yard, he even called her into the house and talked for a long time. She knew that this girl looked stupid. In fact, it's quite a thief. Xiaoji had already prepared the water for bathing and was waiting for Wen Yu to wash and change clothes. Qi Wu socialized in the front for a while, sent all the distinguished guests away, and then returned to his yard smelling of wine. There is an orange light in the window. That is his wife, waiting for him to return to the house. Steps were empty, and the mood was agitated as he entered the door. In the room, Wen Yu was the only one sitting under the lamp. She wears a heavily satin-embroidered peony red belly band, red bloomers, and a red gauze outer cover with wide sleeves hanging down to the floor. Having half-dried black hair hanging behind her back. Sitting quietly, like a fiery red water lily, looking like it is ready for you to pick. Qi Wu stood next to her a little awkwardly, and he started to pull, but he didn't control the strength well, and he held it tightly. What was about to happen was what he was most concerned about in recent times. I feel a little scared, but also very hopeful. Actually, he had done his homework in advance. But when things came to a close, I realized I couldn't remember them all. Slightly rudely, he pulled Wen Yu to the edge of the bed, pushed her to sit down, and then sat down next to her. Looking at her whole body, her hands were open and shaking, as if she didn't know where to start. The atmosphere was tense and you could hear each other's heartbeats. After a while, he clumsily took off Wen Yu's blouse, revealing his graceful neck and jade arms that were like gelatin. His eyes became blurred, he held her hand, as if he was stroking a treasure. Suddenly, he stood up, quickly threw off his boots, and then took off his clothes 3 times. Wen Yu covered her eyes with her hands, smiling shyly. My haori was cordless and buckled, and he took it off for a long time. But his own, several layers inside and outside, were gone in the blink of an eye. Qi Wu was so dizzy from the burning that he rushed towards Wen Yu. Wen Yu was knocked down by him and knocked his head on the bedside. Does it hurt? Qi Wu asked. All right, not bad. Qi Wu made a voice from his throat, Wen Yu, believe me. Huh? What did you say? Wen Yu was confused and couldn't hear clearly, so he asked. He didn't answer. But it was no longer important, because she felt that her facial features were out of control. I was thrown into the bottom of the valley at once, and pushed to the top of the wave again. Chi-Wu was excited to discover that, in fact, there is no need to learn this kind of thing, it can be learned by oneself without a teacher. Excitement, fear, confusion, and determination from the beginning. Later on, I clearly had control of everything, but it seemed I couldn't control anything. Finally, just like the fireworks that day, they bloomed in the sky. The clusters are so gorgeous. Isn't this a coincidence? Entering the bridal chamber on New Year's Eve. It is really beautiful to marry a daughter-in-law during the Chinese New Year. I really haven't written anything. Please editor, please don't shut me down. There is a shadow. Thank you all for accompanying us along the way and voting and commenting. Even the criticisms, I read them all and I like them all. Although things are not easy right now, we can see that many people are still prospering in life. I hope my stinky babies can do the same. Wish you all a happy new year, good food and drink. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 229. It was dawn, and the two people who had been working hard all night were still sleeping. Chi-Wu's posture is very regular, with his back facing the sky and breathing evenly. Wen Yu curled up next to him, her head resting on his shoulder. Wen Yu and Yanzu often shared the same bed, while Chi-Wu was alone since childhood. It's just that I was too tired yesterday and fell asleep as soon as the lights went out, so I didn't feel strange yet. There was a slight movement in the courtyard. Aunt Kui, who was beside MRSG, came and shouted softly outside the window, "Fifth Master, Fifth Grandma, it's time to get up." Her voice was very soft. Chi-Wu woke up as soon as he woke up, and suddenly realized that there was someone lying next to him. I blinked my eyes and realized, oh, he is married. From now on, this person will sleep next to me. "Fifth Master," there was another soft call from outside. Chi-Wu snorted. Wen Yu was disturbed, turned over slightly, moved his face away, and continued to sleep. He turned his head and looked at his bride. Her long hair was on top of her head and covered with black. His eyes are covered with hair and his lips are slightly pouted. He sleeps sweetly. A rush of heat surged up, and he stretched out his hand. Wen Yu was dreaming when she suddenly felt someone touching her. She was startled and opened her eyes. He was looking into Chi-Wu's eyes. Wen Yu blinked, frowned again, muttered, "I still want to sleep," and hid aside. Chi-Wu posted it, "Ew." His breath blew against my ears, it was hot and itchy, and he quickly wrapped himself into a silkworm chrysalis with his gentle words, and whispered, "It's about to get up." No, Chi-Wu pulled gently, and Wen Yu rolled out, and he leaned forward. Wen Yu was so tired last night that she didn't even have the strength to find underwear and put it on, so she couldn't take any precautions at the moment. He succeeded without any hindrance. Grandma Kui was still outside the window. Seeing that there was no movement in the room, she urged her again, "Fifth Master, Fifth Grandma. It's almost time. We have to recognize our relatives today, so we have to be early." Beside, there seemed to be a girl's voice. Wen Yu was embarrassed and struggled desperately to push him away. But his hands were imprisoned and his body was entangled, and he couldn't move at all. "You." She became angry and wanted to curse, but he blocked her. "I'm so angry. I couldn't help it, so I just buried my head in the quilt." I don't know how long it took, but he was finally satisfied. He held her for a while and finally let her go. "Asshole," Wen said so hard that his voice trembled. Chi-Wu laughed, kissed her, and jumped out of bed. Wen Yu didn't care about anything and quickly got up to clean up. He found his underwear on the bed, which was already wrinkled. Putting on a coat and going down to the ground, She felt various discomforts. Asshole, she cursed in her mind again. Chi-woo looked at her and smiled proudly. I opened the small door and went to freshen up. When you tidied things up before going over and opening the door to the main room. All the girls are outside, working quietly. Aunt Kui came in with a smile. Fifth grandma, I'll take care of you. She held a brocade box in her hand. Only then did Wenyu realize that he was here to collect the round handkerchief. Blushing and feeling guilty, he said, sorry, Mama. Have you prepared your clothes? He quickly avoided it. Xiaoji said, Grandma Wu, everything you and Master Wu have prepared is ready. Aunt Kui found something on the bed, put it into the brocade box, and said to Wenyu, today is the day to recognize relatives, so Madam reminds fifth grandma not to be late. Wanner will come again in a while, asking fifth master and you to come over. It's troublesome, Mama. Mama Kui bowed and went back to resume her duties. Wenyu also went to the hut where he was washing, and Chi Wu had already finished cleaning up. He studied abroad since he was a child and often went out to do work. No one is waiting for you, but you can clean up quickly by yourself. Seeing Wenyu come in, he smiled again. Everything is ready outside, Wenyu whispered. Chi Wu's hair was wet. Wenyu saw it and ignored him, rinsing his mouth. Xiaoji and King He came over to wait on me. King He couldn't help but blush when he saw Chi Wu's appearance. I'm going to change my clothes first, don't worry, Chi Wu-peng said the next sentence and went out. Wash your face, put on makeup, comb your hair, and change clothes with gentle words. The time is very long. Chi Wu, who was neatly dressed, was active in the corridor for a while. When he came back and saw that Wenyu had not finished packing, he shook his head and said, no wonder mother asked me to get up so early. If it hadn't happened again, maybe it would have been sorted out by now. Thinking of the scene just now, he actually had another idea. Regarding this, I was a little helpless. Wenyu didn't know what he was thinking, and sighed, if he hadn't prepared everything in advance, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish the task with so much effort. Speaking of which, I am still comfortable in my boudoir, at least I don't have to dress up like this. After dressing up, turn around and look at yourself in the mirror. Chi Wu came over and sniffed her scent. Are you ready? You're leaving. When you ask the girls, bring everything with you. Yes, fifth grandma, Xiaoji checked again this morning, don't worry. Okay, husband, let's. Fifth master, fifth grandma. Madam has sent a servant to lead the way, the girl from MRSG's courtyard came. Chi Wu walked out, followed by Wen Yu. It was only after he left the house that he could see his yard clearly. It is in the shape of a quadrangle, with 5 main rooms. There are several wing rooms. The yard is quite large, with locust trees planted in the corners and vine trellises. The veranda is very wide, so you can read and do work down there without getting wet even if it rains. It is spacious and elegant, with many large pots of flowers placed there. It's bigger than the Wen family, living like this is quite pleasant. Chi Wu responded and walked ahead leisurely. Won't you introduce me? It was boring for him to be so boring, so when you took the initiative to ask. I was not in the capital before. When I come back occasionally, I would like to stay at Kui's house. This house was overhauled 2 years ago. My mother took care of our wedding. The paintings and decorations in the house also belong to my mother. Oh, I'll come back soon and have a closer look. Your dowry is all placed in the south room. The group of people walked forward along the road. There were flowers and trees on both sides of the corridor, and there were small courtyards along the way. Seeing that Chi Wu was silent again, Wen Yu asked again, where are these courtyards? Chi Wu turned around and looked, we brothers all live on this side. Going forward is the eldest brother, and over there is the second brother. And here, the third and fourth brothers belong. Mother's yard is in the house. The other side. You have to walk through the garden from here. Looking at her little feet and embroidered shoes, it's still a bit far for you to walk there, but there is a soft sedan in the house for the ladies to carry. Let my mother-in-law carry me at home, let's forget it. When the weather is good, it's okay. If it's winter or summer, or it rains, it's still a bit troublesome. Grandpa and Grandma live in the back courtyard. That's where we are going now. Well, what else can you tell me? You will know the things at home as time goes by. The most important thing is that Mother has not been very happy at home for many years. She likes you, so you should spend more time with her in the future. Okay. I like my mother too. When you looked at him and actually liked him quite a bit. The Chi family has gathered in the back hall, including several aunts at home. Mr. Ho and Mrs. Tan have just taken their seats. Mrs. Tan smiled and said, "Finally we are going to see our Xiao's new wife. Lord Marquis, I must say that this is a lucky girl. Our Xiao. She is famous in the capital. Even the emperor has met her." Kyo looked calm and said nothing. Chi Yuyi felt very indifferent. She looked at Xiao Yun sitting in the back row. Throughout her life, she had no chance of sitting in the front. Chi Xiao was jealous and envious of his younger brother, but he didn't know how to get along with him. Now, he was married, he turned to look at Mrsu next to him, with obvious impatience on his face. "I'm afraid that in the future we will drift further apart and become strangers to each other. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart." Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 230. Marquis, Madam, the newcomer has arrived. Chi Wu, dressed in fine clothes, appeared at the door. He turned slightly and stretched out his hand behind him. A small hand was handed to him, which looked a little grand. Immediately afterwards, a beautiful figure appeared. Except for MRSG, Mr. and MRSGSI, and MRSU who met at the Kui family, no one else has seen Wen Yu. Seeing that Mr. Lang looks like a jade concubine and a flower, everyone couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. Actually, neither MRSG nor Zhang Mocking had ever seen Wen Yu dressed up in such a dress. I couldn't help but look from the tips of my hair to the soles of my shoes. Chi Wu's usually dull expression was filled with gentleness at this moment. Seeing this, MRSG thought of Yuan Pa just now, shook her head and smiled bitterly. This guy, now he feels pity for his beauty. Au is really good. He made this stupid son like me look a little smoky. Tan's eyes narrowed, and another pair of figures popped into his mind. It's been so long that I can't remember their faces clearly. It's just that man's beautifully shaped eyes and hearty laugh. Let her never forget it. And the woman next to him. Born, family wealth, represent everything. A feeling of inferiority and resentment welled up from the bottom of her heart, something she had not felt for many years. Qi Yang, with his wife and gentle words, pays homage to his grandfather, grandmother, father, and mother. The bride speaks warmly and greets her grandparents, father, and mother. The two men kowtowed and then stood up. Qi Zheng looked at the pair of green people in front of him, and his impression of Wen Yu was much better. He smiled and said, "Okay. Xiao Wu, once you have a family and a career, you will be a grown man. From now on, you must be more practical and steady in your work. Husband and wife, respect each other and live in harmony." Chi Wu and Wen responded. Kyo waved his hand, and the person next to him presented him with a banknote. As expected, Chi Ho was always simple and rude. When you turned to Laba. Laba held a plate steadily in his hand with a pair of shoes on it. She took it and offered it with both hands. The people around Kyo took it over. The newcomer turned to Mrs. and called her grandmother before she recovered from her daze. "Oh, this girl, tisk tisk. No wonder Feng Ying traveled thousands of miles to come back, it's so painful." Xiao Wu, to be honest, Did you take a fancy to it and grind your mother's decision? Oh, this girl, she looked up and down with a smile, old lady, I like colors the most. When you, right? What do you do in your daily life? She is so approachable. When you suddenly realized that she had seen this person before. Fanghua Temple. A doubt arose in my heart, and after a flash of thought, I answered obediently, my daughter has dabbled in everything she has learned. Tan, she smiled secretly, and her tone was not small. Oh? So what are you best at? I can do writing, painting, embroidery, and some snacks. I can only play piano and ride horses. My grandmother is afraid of hurting her daughter's hands and feet, so she only knows a few things. This is not modest at all. Ms. Tan subconsciously retracted her hand. My feeling was correct, this girl is very annoying. Although she spared no effort to join a wealthy family. But what I hate the most are those people who turn her into a mess. This girl makes it clear, she is the daughter of a wealthy family. Okay, just give me trouble as soon as you come up. Just wait and see. How good, I'll come over often to talk to grandma from now on. He reached out and took a set of hairpins from the side, when you accepted it with a smile. Then, I also gave a pair of shoes. The next step is to meet Chi Yuyi and MRSG. Chi Yuyi's expression was not good. This daughter-in-law was really not what he wanted in every aspect. My wife is the one who makes the decision, she is so good-looking, and she is so capable of tossing things around. Look at this person, look at this style, you can tell he is an exaggerated person. Look at Chi Yang again. This is his most indifferent son. He has been seen so many times that he can count. Just as she was about to open her mouth to say a few words, MRSG jumped in first. Xiao Wu, you is the best girl I have ever seen. She is kind, smart, and sincere to others. You must treat her well. You, I can trust you. Yours. Xiao has a dull temper, but he is a good boy, don't dislike him. Mother hopes that you and your wife will live together happily. Everyone was a little speechless after what he said. Co-authored, please don't dislike it. Do you know who she is and who she is married to? Chi Yuyi was full of complaints and wanted to complain, but MRSG kept her words to this point. If he said anything else, it would be like a husband and wife quarreling in public. So, I kept my words in my stomach and my face turned red. The newlyweds nodded yes. What when you gave as a gift were also shoes? MRSG gave a set of 6 pieces of head and face, which are extremely exquisite. Sue stared, her expression even uglier. MRS Tan coughed slightly, MRS Sue turned her head, MRS Tan shook her head slightly at her with a look of sympathy. This time, MRS Sue became even more angry, even my grandmother saw that it was unfair, but they did this in front of me. Next, the newlyweds came to MRS Lu and said, I've met the third aunt. As soon as MRS Lu saw Wen Yu, she immediately looked at her son Chi Yu. Sure enough, she saw Chi Yu eyeing the bride. That look in her eyes made her feel anxious and angry. No one knows better than her what Chi Yu is like. How come someone like this just got married into the family? She doesn't blame her son for being a freak, but she resents Shang Wenyu. Such a vixen, please don't let your son cause trouble and affect the overall situation. So, he accepted the gift with a calm expression and gave a gift casually. What when you gave her was an embroidered shawl from the store. It was very exquisite and much more exquisite than Liu's. But at the moment, she couldn't care less. After saying some kind words, he fell silent. Next, we arrived at Chi Xiao. Brother, sister-in-law. Chi Xiao nodded and said nothing. MRS Su, with a pale face, sneered, the fifth brother and sister are so beautiful. Sure enough, the things that please my mother-in-law are different. They are both my mother's daughters-in-law. I have never heard of what I just said. Sister-in-law is joking. My sister-in-law is the eldest daughter-in-law, as my mother has warned me. How can she be like the little daughter-in-law like me, she said softly. Chi Xiao saw that Mrsu was getting more energetic again, and her sense of recognition was less than before, and she was a little more annoyed. After all, they have just walked in. What are you making a fuss about? Wen didn't say much. What he sent Chi Xiao to was a very fancy bow. Chi Xiao held it in his hand. He had never used anything like this before. The materials used are exquisite and the shape is smooth. It should be good looking and easy to use. Compared to the wooden brother, this must be the handiwork of his younger brother and sister, and I don't know where she got it. What Su gave Wen Yu was a very old jade. Although the quality of the jade was not very good, it was carved by a famous master more than 200 years ago. It is one of her dowry. Heirloom. In fact, she was reluctant to give it, but she had to let Wen Yu see what her background was. Afraid that Wen Yu might not know, he said specifically, "This is something my great ancestor has collected for 200 years. Wen Yu calmly accepted it calmly. Sister-in-law is interested. What she gave Su was also an embroidered shawl, which was also very exquisite. But compared with Su's things, it seems that the foundation is not enough. Hey, this is something from my sister-in-law's shop. Yes. There are a lot of things in the shop. Sister-in-law, go take a look when you have time," Wen Yu said without any shyness. Mrsu secretly resented that she came from a small family, so she was so thick-skinned. As soon as Chi Wu pulled her, she came to Chi Hua and Wang. Chi Hua and Wang have some looks as husband and wife. They are both fair, upright, and featureless. So is the attitude. Wen Yu's gift to Chi Hua was not that thoughtful, 4 pieces of fine Hui ink. The Wang family is similar to the Su family. When Mrsu saw this, she became angry again. What do you mean? The gift given to Chi Xiao was considered thoughtful, but the gift given to me was the same as Wang's. Wen Yu had long realized that there was a disgusting and disturbing look that had been staring at her. Only then did I realize that it was this third brother, Chi Yu. Zhu had a very bad impression of Wen Yu. His face is cold. Chi Yu's heart has been beating wildly for a long time. Others said that he looked similar to Chi Wu. Chi Wu did not respond to this statement at all, and always looked cold. Has made Chi Yu very angry. Especially the reason behind Chi Wu's case is much stronger than just using his name. Have long had a rivalry with Chi Wu. When he saw the wife he married, he was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Why can he marry such a wife? The Zhu family is the most beautiful one in the Zhu family. But compared with the person in front of me, the soles of my feet look like mud. Of course he has seen beautiful women. But there is no one like Wen Yu who has luxurious clothes, arrogant attitude, and various talents. Especially Wen Yu, who was new to human affairs and still had the slightest trace of amorous feelings, made him even more difficult to scratch. Wen Yu's gift was the same as that of Chi Hua and his wife. Chi Yu looked at Wen Yu and said lazily, "Fifth brother, why is it that the elder brother is given a bow, but mine is an ink? What do we martial artists do with ink? You know, third brother his bow skills, he's pretty good too." He looked at Chi Wu only after he finished speaking, so no one except his mother realized that he was teasing Wen Yu. Chi Wu said calmly, "Bb another day." "Ha. Okay. Let's compete one day. Let them see." He glanced at Wen Yu again. "I am bound to win this bitch." Wen Yu turned a blind eye, but felt very annoyed in his heart. What a loser. The anger in my heart felt better when I saw Zhang Mocking's smiling face. Then Wen Yu saw the little cat. Although she is a concubine, she is beautifully dressed. His appearance is not outstanding, but his demeanor is dignified and his smile is sincere. Wen Yu gave a small double-sided embroidered screen with a cat fluttering butterflies. Although there were similar kittens, the embroidered cat on this one had a particularly cute look, so she gave Wen Yu a big smile. I'll go to my sister-in-law's shop another day and have a look. Okay, kitten is welcome to go anytime, Wen Yu also smiled sincerely at her. Next, there are several aunts of Markichi. The older ones are about the same age as the Tan family, and the younger ones are about 27 or 80 years old. Some have no children, and some have daughters. Have a worry-free life. Several people held the embroidered purses given by Wen Yutong in their hands and seemed to like them very much. Next, there is Aunt Ziyun. As soon as Wen Yu saw her, he had an indescribable feeling. Those eyes are particularly beautiful. Moreover, the demeanor is elegant and the charm is unique. I don't know why, but it feels a bit like Master Cheng. Auntie. Fifth Master, Fifth Grandma Aunt Ziyun was very humble. Wen Yu was a little disappointed again. His voice and expression were quite different from those of Master Cheng.